It's time for an Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable, and it's time to talk biotech. Vancouver-based MindCure, MCUR, on the Canadian exchange. And boy, this is an interesting group of people. You can catch, actually, or may have caught, Kelsey Ramsden, the CEO, on with our Jody Vance, First Glance with Jody Vance, another one of our beautiful video properties. But MindCure's pretty fascinating, and I believe Mr. Galen has written something about them. He's the man just above me. Chris is to my left, and Michelle's way over there. Hi, guys. Hi, Galen. What do you got?
Well, here we go as I make a real bumpy transition into the chart area. MindCure is another entry, of course, into the psychedelic space. It's loaded right now with all sorts of hyperbole and specious promises, just like cannabis was, just like, as we've discussed earlier, 3D printing, Bitcoin. It's so embryonic that nobody really knows how the land will lay in the next 6 months. We have yet to see any kind of real legalization of psychedelic drugs in terms of treatment. They are having permits being released by the Health Canada to allow sort of in the treatment of some cases, but as with early cannabis licenses, there's a huge backlog and not everybody's getting through. So right now we're sort of it's the same kind of field as we saw in early cannabis. We've got the great billion-dollar unicorns where people figure they're going to solve the world's problems, and we have a lot of smaller companies. And what I really like about MindCure, it's one of those companies. So any value that you try to sort of set into it is something you're probably going to get back instead of waiting for it to justify what it's valued at right now. What I like about this company is that it's got a multi-pronged approach, that it's not just promising to deliver, it's actually delivering on. Kelsey Ramsden is a award-winning entrepreneur and is behind as a CEO of this particular venture. Her idea is to push out the technology first. And what this is a supportive software platform called iSTRYM, I believe is the actual way to pronounce it. And what it does is it helps facilitate therapy, not just for psychedelics, but also mental health issues in other areas as well. But where they're focusing right now is on that. And that's a real value add for me because it gets them into the market right now and puts revenue on the table right now and essentially develops a footprint before the legalization actually hits. Now, speaking of the drug candidates, they're developing a synthetic molecule of ibogaine for the reason of, I think, a great reason to them, reliability of dosage levels and accuracy of how it's going to impact the individual that it's going to hit, as also a protection of cultures who use traditionally the natural form of ibogaine, because if the pharmaceutical world decided to take all the natural ibogaine, there wouldn't be anything left for anybody else. So I really think that she's forward thinking, looking at this correctly, and has a great business mind and is applying that to this venture, which I think makes it a gem, a hidden one in the sea of companies that are now entering the psychedelics area.
Chris, do you want to carefully talk about women's sexual health? Because this is one of the areas that MindCure is addressing.
Yeah, well, so there's potential minefield for somebody who thinks in one-liners, but I was going to say that one of the pillars of MindCure is what they call the Desire Project, which is an effort to use MDMA-assisted psychotherapy to help women overcome a lack of desire. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not just women who are married to Rob Simpson who lack sexual desire. It's a thing that's out there. It's I will say
hypoactive sexuality actually affects 30 some odd % of men and 40% of women. It's not as rare as we'd like to think.
No, well, anyone who's married knows that it's not rare at all.
And I've been married to 40% of women.
Look, just in that area alone, like, as a red-blooded male who knows that we don't think about women in a way that's empathetic anywhere near as much as we should. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't want to make women more sexually happy,
exactly,
more attracted to being romantic? Like, every man worth his salt should be putting 10% of his investable income into this project alone. It's going to be better for women, but also for those of us who aren't women. Quite frankly, it's a win-win-win-win-win-win. Comedy aside, look,
so.
there's a lot of bullcrap.
Five times a week would be a win,
right?
Win.
Look, there's a lot of shit in the psychedelic world, 100%. And we've been saying that since we started writing about it 2 years ago. Part of that is because there's not a lot of legal means to use psychedelics for their potential right now. It's loosening up. It's getting easier to find psychedelics and harder to be arrested for it. But it's still sort of like these companies are working around the edges, researching, opening clinics, going to ketamine, these sorts of things that cloud the real potential here, which is if government regulators would just get out of the way and open this space up, you would see a drastic drop in PTSD. You would have a drastic drop in issues involving couples. For mine, when I started using recreationally psychedelics, I would say that it was in 2 or 3 nights, it was the same as about 6 months of couple counseling. It completely opened my eyes to a whole bunch of things about myself, about my relationship with significant others. And it's something that really needs to be on the market. Right now, all that you've got are companies that are sort of pegging out some space in the need to show that they're real, and that when those things open up, that they will be there front and center. Now, this is a company that, if I go through its investor deck, which will take a lot longer than the minutes that I have here, shows me that they're not just going after formulations to get better patient outcomes. They're also looking at technology and how to track patient monitoring, how to connect clinicians with patients on a more regular basis. They're looking at the clinical side of things, which frankly everyone's doing, because if you open an office space and put a guy with a degree in there, you're officially a clinic. But from looking at the news releases of this company, they are genuinely putting together deals across the board with what they consider to be best of breed. They're doing the work, which is the important thing here, right? They're not just chucking out a release and saying, yeah, we bought a mushroom farm in Langley, we're in psychedelics. Like, they're actually trying to do the work. I will also say it's not insignificant that of all the CEOs that our Jody Vance has interviewed in public companies over the last year, this one's just the second, but that is a female. Female CEOs are criminally unrepresented, unrepresented, I would say, in this and any other sectors. And realistically, when one is given the job, what you tend to find is that they work their asses off to demonstrate that they're worthy of that position. It shouldn't have to be that way, but I've never met a female CEO on the public markets who isn't an absolute attack dog and would go to the wall for their company, as opposed to some men who are quite happy to go fishing on the company dime. So for me, MindCure, they've got cash in the bank. The stock isn't doing anything really great. I would hope that maybe there's a big catalyst in the mix that is coming for them that would really rev that stock up. But I believe right now, if you're buying it, you're looking at, from a market cap, it's just a $30 million company. Yeah. That's play money right now, considering the amount of activity that they have been engaged in. They're in ibogaine, they're in Molly, they're in a whole bunch of stuff. So any avenue of psychedelics that does open up government-wise, these guys are either in it or real close to it. So I think it's an interesting deal.
It's MCUR chart, man.
Yep.
Canadian Exchange.
Yep. I mean, it's a big technical break, I think, just happened, yesterday. Just quickly, I just want to highlight the term digital therapeutics. I think, as Galen sort of alluded to earlier, I find there's a lot of value in that. I like this idea, the AI-driven mental health patient lifecycle platform, reduces costs, no more clinic visits, and improves outcomes. And in their presentation, you can read about current clients, and the latest news here is about this LOI with ketamine protocol for alcohol use disorder in clinics in the US and Canada. And I want to highlight as well, further catalyst could be expansion into the UK and Europe in general. That's what management wants to do. Chart-wise, MindCure, as many of these psych companies, psychedelic stuff, which I'll get to in just a bit, but it was dropping. I did have a resistance level here. Actually, a few months ago, we were looking at this when I think all this, all the psychedelic stocks were doing quite well. You can find them all in our Discord chat. We were looking at on Red Light Holland and MindMed and all that stuff, and we were watching for a break here on MindCure at 47 cents, and unfortunately, it didn't happen, and instead we drifted lower, lower, and lower, and we were retesting previous lows that we held in May, and unfortunately, that broke as well, actually at the beginning of October, and we continued to drift lower and lower and lower until yesterday. It looks like we got a nice green strong candle, so perhaps bulls have hammered in or hammered out a bottom here, and I think that's quite a significant candle break. What makes it a bit more interesting is if I look at the psychedelics ETFs, if I look at PSIL, there's also a breakout which happened yesterday. And if I look at PSYK, which is the Canadian psychedelic ETF, some interest. It's looking quite strong here. So I'm looking at perhaps a renewed interest in psychedelics here, or maybe psychedelics are seen as very cheap right now compared to everything else. And I'm seeing some signs that capital and money flows are going to be returning to psychedelics here. And if I quickly just also look at MindMed, similar looking chart like PSYK. So things are looking interesting. We talked about, yesterday we talked about Filament Health, which also had quite the pop, but they had news as well. But when the sector is doing quite well with the news, you get a very nice pop. So I'm intrigued. I like what I'm seeing here on MindCure, and just based off the technicals and what I'm seeing with the broader trend here in psychedelics, I think we may have hammered out a bottom here at 27 cents.
All right. Well, now you each get a turbo opportunity to spend up to $7,500 of my cash on an investment as we speak on MCUR, and Galen goes first.
Well, I really like this company. I spoke with the CEO in an interview just recently. Got nothing but praise for what she's doing and her own personal philosophy behind what she's doing. She has a vision, and she also has a very clear mandate, unlike, as we said earlier, many of these companies that enter the space. I like the company's prospects in terms of offerings. The Desire Project has great potential. The technology is something that they can hook on right now that'll give them a real strong foothold in the market itself. The synthetic production of ibogaine, the other research that the company is doing, they have a tremendous a knowledge bank and experience for their advisors, their management in every avenue that they're pursuing. They don't just have a couple of guys that know, or people that know a little bit about one subject. They have experts in every area that they're going towards with a proven track record already. So I see great movement in the future. As Kelsey's philosophy is, she quotes Wayne Gretzky to a certain extent by saying that her philosophy is to be where the puck is going. So she's always kept herself as a forward-thinking executive, and so I think that's a real good bet. So you know what? I'm going to drop in if the budget's still $7,500. You know what? I think it's hit bottom. So I'm gonna drop it in now.
There we go. Wow.
All of it. So we go 7,500 plus we get a Gretzky reference. That is unbelievably good. All right, Chris Perry.
Luke, I think just on the digital therapeutics side of things, this is a really interesting company. If you look at Livongo Health on the diabetes front, tracking diabetes through devices, $37 billion valuation. I once made the mistake of signing up for Noom. That's kind of like giving clothes to big brothers. You never, ever lose them again. That's $200 million in revenue for that single app. I've recently been using a sleep tracking app that listens to you while you sleep and plays you back sound recordings of your snoring, which led me to the doctor to fix a few things. I've also, even just getting to sleep, I've got an app that plays me rain noises. The digital therapeutic space is really, really blowing up right now. And if we look at MindCure as being a psychedelics company because they touch on that, I think we're doing it wrong. I think what this is a health tech company that happens to be in the psychedelics realm, but also is in the technology realm and probably a few other places before we're done. So as a technology company, criminally undervalued. As a psychedelics company, just been left behind on a lot of the ups that others have experienced by virtue of paying $1 million to Kevin O'Leary to show up one afternoon. I think it's a real company. I'd be happy, comfortable putting $4,000 of your 75 into this, and the rest I'd be keeping on a tight rope, waiting for any dips.
Michelle.
Yep, I'm just like Galen here. I think this is a nice bottom here. Just technically everything is looking good. So I'm just going to go like maybe 3K on this one, just because I think there's other ways to also allocate your capital if you play psychedelics. And again, I'm looking at this as, I guess, a broader trade. But I like the bottom here. I like that breakout. And I would probably follow Chris as well, where if this does dip a bit lower or maybe back to 27.5 or 27 cents, I think I would actually consider increasing my limit there by a bit more too.
That's not really like you said. You're going like Galen. Galen went 7,500.
You went 75. Okay.
7,500 and Gretzky, and you're going like Marty McSorley and $3,000. Another little hockey reference for people out there who know what I'm talking about. All right.
I was going to say Mark Messier, but that would be
that'd be high end though. That's we just spent $14,500 of my money on MCUR on the Canadian exchange. It is MindCure, and it is Kelsey Ramsden. We've referred to her a number of times, the CEO, and they're in Vancouver. And we tell you folks out there to please do your own investment research, do your homework before you do anything. We can't guarantee any results from what we tell you. We're just doing a little educating. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed it. And for Vishal over there, and for Galen up there, and for Chris over there, I'm Rob. We'll see you on the next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.